Another development related to J.C. Jackson is the news, broken by PFT, by the way, not that nobody cares. You just want the news. We're here to give you the news. We cast a wide net. Whoever reports it has. If something falls into my lap, I'll share it with you. Randy Gregory, veteran defensive lineman, to be released by the Broncos. The move likely becomes official at 4 p.m. Eastern today. And when I first heard it, I thought, okay, precursor to a J.C. Jackson, Cam Akers type of a trade. Denver eats most of the salary, $14 million this year, fully guaranteed. It's about 10.88 that remains. Denver gets a late round pick, maybe gives back a late round pick in 24, 25, 26. And Randy Gregory goes to a new team. I saw that Mike Kliss of 9 News reported after the news came out that Gregory would be released that the Broncos have already tried to trade him. So that has been exhausted. It is over. Gregory will be released. And because he is not subject to the waivers rule, he's got 4 or more years of service. He immediately becomes a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. He can pick a contender. He can go to a team that may be trying to simulate what the Eagles have going on with the 8 defensive linemen who rotate in and out and constantly harass and barrage the opposing offensive line. That could be what Randy Gregory tries to do. And he can go to any team he wants to go to. Team's got to want him, but any team that wants him, he gets his pick. And he just goes for the prorated veteran minimum because Broncos are on the hook for the remainder up to that prorated salary of $14 million for the year. My understanding is that Broncos are ready to move on. Gregory was ready to move on. And it just shows you that Sean Payton's running the show there because it was George Payton that signed Randy Gregory. Remember that whole thing where he was going to stay with the Cowboys? And the question was, and it shows you how valuable getting that guarantee for the second year is. The question was how the guarantees could potentially void. And the Cowboys had a very low bar to void the guarantees. The Broncos fully guaranteed both years. So Gregory's got that financial protection. He's taken that money with him. And the Broncos have other players that they're ready to rely upon. You typically don't let quality pass rushers go. And I think it's just one of those things where Sean Payton decided Randy Gregory, not his cup of tea, not his tempo, and willing to move on from Gregory because he's a net gain to the team at large by moving on from a guy who ultimately contributed 3 sacks, was injured for a lot of 2022, 3 sacks for the money that he received from George Payton. And between the Russell Wilson trade, the Randy Gregory signing, and just the overall condition of that roster, I know that there's a sense that Sean Payton went there because of George Payton to a certain extent, to work with George Payton to create the kind of relationship that Payton had in New Orleans all those years with Mickey Loomis. But relationships can take a turn. And if the cupboard ends up being as bare as it looks, George Payton is the guy who put a lot of those empty boxes in that empty cupboard. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after the season ends. If Sean Payton decides he needs to bring in someone else to be the one who helps him find the right players to turn the Broncos around. A lot of it depends upon what happens over the balance of the season. This game on Sunday, Jets at Broncos, is critical. And the whole Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton storyline, it was fun back when the comments from Sean Payton came to light. But this is a critical game for both teams. I don't want to say that whoever loses it is done, but whoever loses it falls to 1-4. And this is something Miles Simmons and I were talking about today. How many losses can you really afford before you're done? This is only year 3 of the 17-game schedule. It used to be when you got to around 4 or 5, the window was getting pretty narrow. Remember the Patriots in 2008 went 11-5 and didn't make it. There were times where teams went 10-6 and didn't make it. I think the Chiefs were one of the annual proponents of the expanded playoff field, given that argument that all too often good teams are left out. 10-6 teams are left out. Now that we're at 17 games, when do you really get nervous about being left out in an expanded playoff field? 10-7, 9-8. So once you get to 5 losses, you get to 5 losses before Halloween. Damn. You don't have many more losses. You got to get hot. You got to get hot. At some point, you got to run the table. And we saw it last year. The Lions got hot, just missed it. Steelers got hot, just missed it. Those wins and losses in September and October, they don't determine your fate. They don't decide what kind of a team you'll be. There it is, the national alert. They told me it was coming. It's a little early. Wouldn't that be funny if this isn't the test, but like the missiles are in the air 2 minutes before the test? Let's see. This is a test of the, oh, now it's gone. Well, all right. Bye-bye test. I hope it's a test. I hope the missiles aren't in the air. And now the test comes 2 minutes from now, 2:18 p.m. Eastern, the test of the emergency broadcast system. So when the missiles are in the air, they can let us all know to assume the position we all learned back in grade school in the 70s during the Cold War. Basically, sit down, bend over, put your head between your legs, kiss your ass goodbye. Get under the desk and kiss your ass goodbye. Getting under the desk is going to make all the difference in the world when the missiles are in the air. And, you know, I don't know. I think the fact that there was a generation of us that grew up under that threat constantly, we have a respect for what it means to have nuclear war that, I don't know, that like people just talk about it kind of glibly. Like it would not be good. It would be the end of civilization as we know it. It would be death and destruction and mayhem. Well, happy Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. All right. It kind of makes the stuff that we talk about here seem pretty damn trivial when you think of it. But hopefully our elected officials, the ones who aren't brain dead, the ones who actually are motivated by goodwill and the best interest of the nation, will find a way to guide us on a path to long-term peace, a peace that we've managed to maintain for really 60 years, more than 60 years since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.